Hey everybody, and today we're going to be talking some more about Doctor Who. Not 1980s, don't worry, we're talking about the current era of Doctor Who. We're going to be talking about Chris Chibnall's run as showrunner, Jodie Whittaker's run as the Doctor, and how this has affected the fandom. What do people actually think of this era, and how is it going amongst the fans? Because if you look online, you'll see overwhelmingly that it seems to be hated, vilified, all these things. But that's not really from the fans' mouth. That's from media outlets. That's from typing a few words in on Twitter. I want to know what fans really think. And I think you'd be very interested as well. So join me on this journey as I interview some more seasoned fans of the show to see what they think. I thought for those who don't know, this is the first interview of this section I'm doing, and the reason I have you in mind, Josh, is because I know that this current era has a special connection for you. You really like this era.
Yeah, I do.
And can you go into a bit of well, not in detail, but like, what do you like about the current era?
Well, I feel like this is true of the Doctor Who fans, like, because every fan of the show has a certain era that they connect with on a personal level, like say the Matt Smith era, the Pete Davidson era, the Hartnell era, just to name a few.
Yeah.
But this is the era that connects with me the most on a personal level.
You don't have to go into detail about that. Everybody has their own story as to why that's their era.
Yeah. Besides, and everybody that knows me knows how personal it is. Basically, this era has helped me overcome a really hard time in my life. Well, I'd say overcome. It's more helped me cope with it all.
Yeah, and that's
because I see Jodie's Doctor, and I see just an aura of hope and optimism, like somebody that could be your friend, like even in the darkest of times. That's how I see her Doctor.
Absolutely, and that is what a lot of people, when I see that people like her Doctor, they like the ultimate positivity of that character.
Yeah,
and it's a very valid way to look at her, really, I think.
Yeah.
I guess so. So you like that characterization of Doctor? Do you like Jodie's performance and these sorts of things?
Yeah, I do. I do. Like, a lot of people aren't keen on her being so the awkward, which I can kind of understand. But then again, I think it kind of works because the Doctor shouldn't be a perfect person. A good character should always have a flaw, and then that makes for interesting development. And the Doctor's normally the voice of reason, the commanding authority, and for her to not always know what to say or what to do, I think it's a kind of interesting approach.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I do kind of like, I'm going to parallel this for Fifth Doctor Zero, so shoot me down. I'm talking about the 80s again, but I feel like to have a TARDIS team in the manner that we have right now with three companions, I feel like you need a more vulnerable Doctor for that. It wouldn't work for Capaldi, it wouldn't work for Tennant, let's say.
No, it wouldn't, because they knew who they were. They were sure of themselves.
Exactly. And when you have a team that big and you want everyone to have equal input, where's that input going to come from if the Doctor can solve everything?
Exactly. I mean, granted, there's areas where it doesn't quite work, but that's something that hopefully that they can improve on as this era keeps going.
How do I put this next question? Because this is the bit that has a lot more debate than the actual casting of the Doctor or anything like that.
Right.
Writing. Chibnall baby.
Oh, the Chibnall. the writing of the Chibnall era. Well, as much as I enjoy it, I will admit it's not perfect. I mean, like, I'm not this kind of like oh, it's all great. And if you don't like it, you're wrong. Like, even
Yeah.
I had issues with it. I mean, like, firstly, I'm going to get the good stuff out of the way.
Of course.
He's got a good understanding of character. Like, for instance, when the first episode of Jodie Zero came out, I felt like I knew about all of the characters. I didn't feel like I needed to know more about them. I felt like I knew enough to connect with them. And a lot of their issues were relatable. Like I found myself relating quite strongly to Graham and Ryan as characters.
Just to very quickly say myself, like, it was very nice to have some dyspraxia representation on TV.
Yeah,
someone with
exactly.
dyspraxia. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
exactly.
fun.
It's a very interesting thing to explore, as well as Graham being a cancer survivor. That's something that we've never seen before, and it's a very personal issue. And it's, I think it was good of Chibnall. It's good that somebody like Chibnall, who does handle quite serious subject matter quite a lot, it does make a lot of sense for him to bring in characters that are like that.
Oh, absolutely. If you this is my criticism, I guess, of the previous era. If you'd done that in the Moffat era, it'd have been a one-line thing. It probably would have been made into a joke, which you don't want.
No. But this one, although it's not entirely focused on all the time, it is taken very seriously.
With all these elements together now, there's one point we have to talk about, because people would not like the video if we didn't. Timeless child reveal.
The timeless child reveal. Like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had a feeling that this was gonna happen for quite a while. Because when we go all the way back and watch the Ghost Monument, the blankets, or let's say the remnants, as they are called, they talk about the timeless child.
Yeah.
And then after thinking about it, I thought, who else could it be but the Doctor? Because now, thanks to what Stephen Moffat established, and now what Chris Chibnall has established, the Doctor can regenerate indefinitely. So they are essentially timeless. So in that respect, it made sense. But in terms of where they came from, that's a bit more sketchy. I do like how we have another kind of origin of regeneration. But yeah, as quite a few fans have said, like, taking the Doctor out of their Time Lord heritage just doesn't quite work. Especially like, especially when they're the catalyst for it all.
Yeah.
There's just something about it which doesn't quite make a lot of sense, I think.
We have something to look forward to now. We've seen little bits and pieces of the upcoming series 13.
Yes, 13.
And how do we think it's looking so far? It's hard to say.
I think it's looking interesting. We still don't know a whole lot, but I think it'll be quite exciting. The only thing that kind of worries me is the fact that we have another companion joining the Doctor and Yaz. I know, guys, that is not me slugging off John Bishop or anything. Like, I'm sure he'll be great. I just think we should have had more of the Doctor and Yaz on their own first.
Yes.
That's all.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm sure it'll be exciting. I mean, I'm quite excited to see the way Chibnall will handle the Sontarans in particular.
Oh yes. This video will have a spoiler warning, don't worry. So it is pretty common knowledge that the Sontarans will be around. The pictures have been doing rounds online an awful lot lately.
Yeah.
And in my case, I'm very happy that they're filming in Liverpool. That's never happened in my lifetime, so I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I went down to Liverpool last year, and I stayed around the Albert Dock. So like when I saw that picture, I was like, I've been there. I know where that is.
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing.
It's gonna be interesting, to say the least.
I think the Jodie Whittaker episodes, the Jodie Whittaker era so far hasn't impressed me very much. And it's not because she's female, it's not because, you know, any of that. It's just like some doctors or some eras just don't do it for you. Like I said to Colin Baker to his face, you were never you were my least favorite doctor. And Sean, who was from Candy Jar, who was with me at the time, visibly cringed, like, oh, as soon as we got us alone, he went, why did you say that to him? I said, I'm just being honest. And Colin was fine with it. He was like, hey, he said, of course, he said the way it was handled, the way it was treated. I wasn't many people's favorite doctor. So, you know, I can watch Doctor Who episodes of Colin Baker now and you know, enjoy them for whatever they are. But at the time, it wasn't my thing, and Jodie Whittaker hasn't been my thing, and a lot of it is the writing, which people say, because the Doctor needs to be more intelligent and needs to know what they're doing all the time. They can be stumped and they can be caught by creatures or by monsters, whatever, but they generally need to. You got to buy the fact that the Doctor's super intelligent. But Jodie Whittaker's character is still acting like she's only just regenerated. To say something and go, I know the way out of this. Do I? I can't remember. I think I do. I don't know. And you watch every episode. She's like, is this right? I think she says, I don't know almost all the time. And it's like, you should have 1,000 years worth of knowledge in your head. You know, Peter Capaldi gave you that feeling that he was really intelligent.
That's it.
All. Tom Baker was the same. He was crazy. You knew he was 10 steps ahead of everyone else.
But 7, of course.
I can't remember what I'm doing. And, you know, Sylvester McCoy is obviously very much of a schemer in his later years.
Which is what I was hoping for with Jodie. I was hoping that this would be a front type thing. And then on the odd occasion, we get these moments. I think you can play the Doctor any way you want, as long as there are hints of what you know about the Doctor in it. So I think...
You take what's gone before... And do stuff with it. You know, people were comparing Matt Smith to Patrick Troughton, which isn't a bad thing. You know, his thing was like an old man in a young man's body kind of thing. But Eccleston did completely his own take. You know, completely different thing. But I think that was just to update Doctor Who for the 2000s onwards. Jodie Whittaker's episodes, you know, whoever gives it the once over, whether it's Chibnall as a showrunner, reads the scripts and goes, I think I'll throw in a few more. I don't know. I'm not sure about this. Oh, yeah. It's like, why?
I feel like there's a clipboard of Doctorisms that he's wrote, and like Moffat had a few down, and they weren't very good either. But he's just taken them out, and he's gone right. Yeah,
Russell T Davis's first 2 Doctors was like fantastic. Alonzi, I'm so sorry. And all these other things in his catchphrases. And like Chibnall's one just goes, I don't know. So like, what should we do, Doctor? We should run this way. I think we can. Can we? No, why? I can't remember. And you're like, why? What? Can't you be more sure of stuff? Actually be decisive and say, this is what we're going to do. You know? Again,
when I first watched it, I gave it benefit of the doubt. I thought it was going more for like a 5th Doctor type vulnerable older sibling type Doctor. That only works if the Doctor at the end of it all can overcome it.
It's got to be more authoritative. And, you know, the thing with the Doctor, if the Doctor turns around and says to the companion's like, what are we going to do, Doctor? And the Doctor says, if it's Peter Capaldi's like, for once in my life, I don't know. It's scary because you're like, if the Doctor doesn't know what to do, what hope have we got? But every few minutes, Jodie's going, I don't know. I've got no idea. What should we do? How are we going to get caught? Well, this isn't looking too good. How do we fall and get into this mess? And you're like, really?
There's also
He's
like
coming
littler bits as well, where she directly contradicts herself. And other doctors have done it before. I'm not going to say they haven't.
Yeah.
But like from episode, there's literally a 2-episode span where she goes from, I like conspiracies, me, to, I'm a fan of conspiracies. Like in 2 episodes, week to week. And then in another one, they sort of hype this idea that she doesn't like being around her companions for like 1 week.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a coldness that people picked up on.
Yeah.
You know, even when Graham did some speech about, I think he said his cancer had come back or something.
Yeah.
And she went, oh, I'm feeling a bit awkward about that. I don't know how to deal with it. And she just walked away kind of thing and left him to it. There was no empathy there at all, and no sympathy. And that didn't go down well for her. You know, the doctor shouldn't be like, Peter Capaldi was, you know, abrasive and horrible for most of his episodes, but he was like, always be kind. You know, that was not very kind of Jodie to go, oh, I'm feeling a bit awkward about this. I don't know how to think about it. Never mind, eh? You know, okay.
And then you take, how do I say it? You take something. I like to think that the Doctor's personalities, regeneration, do complement each other. So I think 5 and 6, let's say, complement each other in a way. Yeah. Where there's a sort of arc as to why 6 is the way he is, and then why 7's the way he is. I don't think there's one between 12 and 13. I don't think that's...
No, there's no real connection, is there?
No.
There's no kind of connection between the previous to what Jodie's has become. So, yeah, it's very strange. And, again, it's not Jodie Whittaker's fault as an actress. She's got to read the words delivered to her on the script. And her script says, I've no idea every 2 minutes. And she's got to say that and play it the best she can.
Exactly that.
It needs to be changed, you know. But again, I think this is her last series coming up, isn't it? So she's done it 3 years.
I'm trying to figure out what the general perception of the current year of Doctor Who is, and I'd love to know how you feel about it.
Cool. So, I mean, the thing I've found with the current era is that it's obviously it is quite divisive when it goes to certain corners. It depends where you really look. It depends on people's upbringings, I guess. And it really is a case of you're either going to gel with this or you don't really. But then again, that's been the same through a lot of the entire new era of Doctor Who. When you go back to the Rusty Davies era, at the time, there were some elements that were received not so well, like, say, Love and Monsters and Fear Her. But then they're reevaluated over time, and then they become sort of cult classics. I mean, I'm not sure Fear Her has reached there yet, but I know Love and Monsters definitely has. And the same could be said for the Stephen Moffat era, which, again, was heavily derided when it was being released. Series 6 didn't have a great reception in a lot of fan corners, but generally, I like to think it was pretty okay. But now, a lot of the elements of the Moffat era are kind of being reevaluated as time has gone on. And they're now that they have complete story, everything has been going on quite well. I mean, I recall people saying that Series 9 was very much a series that was best watched as a binge watch. And you could apply that to the entire Capaldi era, really, because it's such a cohesive story that may not, I guess, go too well over time, but when you just watch it over a short space of time, then you can really see how the character jigsaws fit in and out and in and out. So yeah, that ties back into the current era, because it's one of those things that I feel will probably be received a lot better down the line when Chibnall has handed the keys over to another showrunner. And I feel that some aspects of it may well be reevaluated. Like, I know that episodes like Demons of the Punjab, absolutely fantastic, and that is getting all the praise it deserves. I mean, there are episodes that haven't gone quite down quite so well, like to if I can say this correctly, Surunga Conundrum, which obviously has a bit of a but again, I feel like it's just a case that Doctor Who in itself doesn't have a fan base that is consistently, how do I this? They're not consistently. It's difficult to word. I know what
they're not usually unanimous. We'll say.
Yes, that's the way. Yeah, they're not consistently unanimous on their thoughts of Doctor Who, like a lot of fan bases
Yeah.
are. But Doctor Who, there does seem to be very much a massive amount of division. But again, that is down to the fact that the show has changed in so many ways that people come to expect different things of the show. They like other bits of the show more than other aspects. So when one era focuses on aspects more than another, like Rusty Davies era focused a lot more on the soap drama sort of things, the characters, rather than the monsters and the explosions and plots, etc. And that can drive away a certain audience, but also rope in a new one. And the same is, of course, with the Chibnall era. It's roped in a new audience. Some have left as well. But at the same time, the show does need to continue to change. Otherwise, it won't progress and it will just stagnate and eventually die. And we don't want it to do that. So
absolutely not. I guess the point I've been trying to make a lot throughout this is Doctor Who is probably the ultimate in variety show, in that you can change the show's genre, you can change the show's tone, style, week to week. It doesn't even have to be season to season, Doctor to Doctor. It can be week to week. So, of course, there are going to be elements that people love and hate. It's just I also feel like a lot of the issue now is it's very much in the open forum, where and that's gone on over the course of time. You'll have seen it in the Moffat era as well. Every time something came out, especially by the time of Capaldi's era, you'd be getting tweets every day about it. You'd be getting Facebook opinions, and you'd see it a lot more than, say, you would in the Russell T Davies era, I think.
Definitely, the development of social media has definitely helped affect the widespread reception of Doctor Who. I remember, like, early in the 2010s, Twitter was still coming about, and you would see all that discussion about Matt Smith and his Doctor. I mean, usually you'd see that sort of thing on internet forums, but with Twitter, it was made a lot easier because, I mean, back in that particular era, you only had 140 characters to play about with. And you had to really keep your thoughts properly concise. And so everything was kind of like reduced to he's good, he's bad, don't like it, like it. And that's how they really just operated at that particular point. It became less of a point of people wanting to constructively put forth their points, but it became more of here's my abridged point, that's how it is. And of course, when those sorts of things become categorized into headlines, etc., then it can be used against the show or for the show, depending on who says it and how it is received.
100%. And you'll see sensationalism comes a lot into it. I know maybe that's veering off into another topic here, but you'll see channels will make clickbait headlines all about the viewing figures weren't great this year, and people will be looking for reasons, I think, these days to attack the show. That's just my personal view.
That is actually right, though. I mean, there is a lot of the times you will see a lot more articles aimed towards the negative because that gets clicks. That is the thing that will get clicks. I remember watching an interview with Chaser Paul Sinha, and he was always saying about how tabloids and the media would always take things and phrase them negatively, and it just give everybody a headache. But I've experienced that with Doctor Who because they'll always be like, hey, Dr. Woke or whatever, Dr. Karen, etc., and then focus on like dipping viewing figures. But they did that with Capaldi, and they did that with Matt Smith too. Anything that doesn't help, anything that isn't really matching up to the golden David Tennant, specifically Voyage of the Damned ratings point, is basically seen as, oh no, it's going downhill, even though that was a fluke in itself.
There we go.
I was held to an ambulance,
Oh, sorry. The big point there is that series 4 of Doctor Who is probably one of the highest viewing figures sustained over a series of any show of the 2000s. You know, I don't think that's a fair bar to judge people by, and especially that in 2008, say, iPlayer wasn't viable, catch-up TV wasn't as viable as it is today. All these sorts of things. Doctor has steadily declined in viewing figures, but considering what it's been competing with in those 10 plus years, I'd say it's still doing fairly healthy, you know.
Oh yeah, I still say it's doing pretty healthily. I mean, there was a lot of backlash towards the Timeless Children because I believe that got the lowest rating of the new series ever. But again, it's the sort of thing that you have to take into account that, as you said, a lot of streaming services now and people are watching TV less regularly. I mean, ratings have been somewhat going back up nowadays, but that's because of lockdown. That's kind of reversed the trend. But that wouldn't have been the case around the time of series 12. So naturally, it's just the case that people have got change in taste and how they view things. Sure, Doctor Who may not be live, maybe not be live demand viewing anymore for some people, but at the same time, they're still going to watch it. So that's the most important thing. If they keep on watching it, that's the key.
And I guess I've asked a lot of other people this, so I might as well ask your opinion. Just very quickly, Timeless Child itself, as a story idea, as how it's executed, I feel like people are very up in arms about it, maybe more so than they should be. How do you feel about it?
I mean, the thing with the Timeless Child for me is that it changes a lot, but at the same time, it changes very little. Because it's established that the Doctor has got this massive backlog behind them, but the Doctor herself in the episode says it doesn't really change who she is. So I feel like the story isn't done. There's still more to come from it. So I think we should just preserve judgment until we know the full story. I still want to hear the more from the fugitive Doctor, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the more answers we get of her, the more clear that story will become. And maybe it's not entirely as it seems. Maybe it's something entirely different, but we don't know because it's not finished. So I think we just got to wait and see instead of obliterating the show. Yeah, I think it's people may not like it. Totally understandable. Fair dues, their point of view. No disrespect to them. But at the same time, I think just hang in there and see what happens, and then judge when the era is said and done.
So first and foremost, Melissa, where do you begin with this era, and do you like it or do you dislike it overall?
Honestly, I tried to watch a few Jodie episodes and it didn't appeal to me. Like, I have tried to like it. It's not her as an actress. I like her in Broadchurch. It's literally the writer, Chris Chibnall. Like, I can't get into the stories. Like, Moffat he's all right. Russell T Davies was my writer. Like, his stories are amazing, but Chibnall's, they're just there's no word to describe how bad he is at writing, really.
Now, before we open that discussion up a bit more, Robin, what do you think?
I'm pretty much same boat, really. Nothing against Jodie. She's a very good actress. Like, visuals and everything step up. It looks way more cinematic than Doctor.
Oh, we've lost you. There we are.
And it's really nice to see it actually get a budget it deserves. But it's just the writing. It's just it doesn't feel like, it feels like a jigsaw piece that's being jammed into the wrong place, really, and they're trying to force it in.
Legit, the stories don't make sense.
That's the point I was going to say, because a lot of people that I've been speaking to already will say the messages that come out of the stories are very confusing, the Doctor's motives are very confusing, the monsters are very confusing. You know, there's a lot of...
Especially the first monster just being like a teeth monster. Who thought of that?
My man Tim Shaw.
Just, I don't know, what should we do? Get teeth. That's scary.
It says something when Salad Man was more popular than Tim Shaw in that episode. The guy who just throws salad at him,
Just bring him back, he'll probably fit right in.
There's probably one good story in the entirety of it, maybe two if you like either of the Dalek stories, but even that's pushing it out.
I mean, considering the Daleks are a bit overused nowadays.
Yes,
it just feels like easy backdoor, like, oh, just use the Daleks all the time.
just because the Daleks have been with every Doctor. So.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's gotten so cheesy as well. Like, come on, fam, let's go.
No, it's not.
Trying to be trendy and randomly filming it in Sheffield to try and be more, I don't know, diverse of the UK or something.
Yeah.
Film somewhere else.
We can't do London.
Yeah.
No. Sheffield.
That's it.
They just sort of got a map out and went, right, where's the most obscure place we can go?
What they did is they got a map out, they just put on a blindfold, and now they put a dark going. Sheffield.
Like the Northerners are already complaining.
Come on.
Yeah. So I've brought you along because for as long as I've been involved in Doctor Who fan circles, you've bloody well been there. So
I just sound like, oh, he's always there. That Brian, he's always into his Doctor Who from the beginning of time.
Older than time itself, Brian appearing at conventions. Yes. So I thought, who better to talk about the current era of Doctor Who, as it is very prevalent to how we got to know each other and how our social media profiles sort of took off, I guess.
More or less, yeah, about the same time.
Yeah. And in that sense, I'd love to know, how do you feel about the current era? What are your own personal thoughts on it?
Well, with the Jodie era, I always like to say first and foremost, she is not my Doctor and not my era. That doesn't mean I don't like her. I love her Doctor. But my era was, to be honest, the Stephen Moffat era with Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi. Capaldi is literally a second favorite, but literally there's only a tiny gap. And I think if Capaldi had been first, he could have been my Doctor just because of that around that time. But obviously it was Matt first and Capaldi. So with him regenerated, I did feel like that was my era, but that's not a bad thing because a lot of people Moffat wouldn't have been their era, as you can, if you just want to look on the internet and you can see people saying that it's not his era. Yeah. But for many, especially girls or women, Jodie can be their Doctor in their era. So it's it's always a case of appreciating, like, my era is gone, but it's now for someone else's, and that's fine. I'm still going to enjoy this era as well.
Well, wonderful perspective on it, because a point I've been driving home a lot in this is Doctor Who is for everyone, right? And if one era isn't for you, another one might be. And I think this is probably the best example of that, really, where
definitely, yeah,
the Doctor is now a hero for a whole other target audience of people. And I can only sit back and say that's wonderful. And with that as well, we go into the fan backlash, because I think you'll agree with me. When Capaldi was cast, there was a presence of he's too old, he can't replace Matt Smith, he's horrible. I feel like that was very beginning of the online criticism overruling the fandom kind of era of television generally. And I feel like it just got ramped up to 11 during Jodie's time. So how do you feel about that, and where do you feel like the fandom stands at this point?
I mean, when they announced Jodie, because there was all rumors flying about, and with the it could be a woman, it could be this person, it could be blah blah blah. And when the announcement actually happened, I was with a friend's place, and a friend is non-binary, and he saw the announcement. They clicked on before me. I thought it was going to be a woman. I only realized obviously she pulled the hood back. Yeah. And it was Jodie. And literally the internet went berserk. Like, they were absolutely made it. They were going like, yes, yes. I was shocked and not shocked. Obviously it's a case of, wow, they weren't there. I was a bit worried, not because of Jodie and not because it was a woman, but because of the backlash. I was very concerned that a lot of people would go, no, not the Doctor, and therefore would boycott the show or stop watching, and therefore it would lose popularity, and therefore the Doctor stopped. And it wouldn't be because of the fact that she's a woman, it would be because of the fans reacting to she's a woman. So I simply said, like, look, there are worries, but everyone always has worries whenever a new Doctor comes along. It happens every single time, even David Tennant. People would obviously be worried about him before he appears. So I just said, take the words of Capaldi, which in 2017 he just in a speech about being kind at a panel. So I just said, we just need to be kind to this Jodie and give her the chance, and she's delivered.
To get to the woman that fell to earth, I like to think that was a strong opening. How did you feel on that first watching?
Yeah, I'd say like, was it as strong as like Alan felt Deep Breath? Probably not, because again, like those doctors. But I felt, yeah, that was a good opener. She did very well. She ticked off all the stuff like, deal with regeneration, meet companions, do the whole regeneration.
Post regeneration spiel. Yes,
that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And the fact that when she was on the crane, did the I know who I am, I'm the doctor, and I thought myself, yeah, you've earned the right to say that. There's a long way to go, obviously, but you've earned the right to say that. When you say I'm the doctor, I think, yeah, you are the doctor. You're not my doctor, but you are the doctor.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's...
Although I do have a funny memory. I remember one of my colleagues who wasn't that much into Doctor Who, but wanted to watch the episode because it was Jodie, a woman, and she tuned in partway through to Tim Shaw and just thought, nope. I couldn't stand his face. I remember thinking, well,
I thought you were going to tell me
I'd rather that than I don't like Jodie.
Yeah. Oh my days. You get a lot of episodes that people feel are duds. And throughout that season, they feel like, how do I say it? Because there's no new... I like to think it's because there's no returning villains. I think a lot of people were turned off by that already. I don't know how you feel about that particularly.
I mean, I love old villains, as does everyone. I get the feeling that Chibnall and that series just wanted to sort of put his mark on the show at first and just to sort of branch out into other aspects, which, to be honest, during Tom Baker's reign, there were many seasons where there was only one, if no, recurring villains at all. And I mean, technically, I count Resolution at the end of Series 11 anyway. So for those, we got Daleks anyway, so it still counts.
In that particular season, you got Rosa, which I think is probably one of the more important episodes we'll ever have. I think that's
very powerful.
Yes,
very powerful. I had the same feeling watching that as I did with the Zygon Inversion. So to have another episode to do that sort of feeling onto me, that was like very well written.
Yeah,
and very informative as well, because a lot of people would knew sort of a bit about Rosa, a bit about the segregation, but that went to really detail. And if you can learn about history without it being boring, but entertaining at the same time, then you've done the job well done.
The timeless child. We can't get away from this video without talking about it, can we?
Yes. So yes, I knew right from the start, like, there's going to be like the truth coming out, like all this series has been building up to. And then obviously I'm also trying to deal with like the Cybermen and the Master just blowing up Gallifrey as well. And yes, I mean, obviously in Ascension we have like the Brendan storyline, which at this point I'm sort of like, what the hell's all this got to do with an Irish boy? And then obviously, as it gets explained, so when they announced this is very difficult to explain this. When he said you are the timeless child, at the time I was a bit confused because there was a lot of information to take it in.
Yeah.
Once I got my head around the whole thing, is basically like, that goes there and that bit goes there and that bit of town history goes there. I'm actually okay with it. I'm not excited about it. I'm not saying this is a brilliant idea, but I'm not against it either. That's a very neutral answer, I know. But for me personally, I know likes of Longbarrow and Big Finish fans, they may object to this because I'm sure there's a lot more continuity established in those stories. But in terms of the TV, the Timeless Children technically doesn't retcon anything.
No. It doesn't.
Because, well, we have the brain of Morbius, which I can't believe that classic story has been brought into the spotlight in such a way. I don't think anyone's expecting that. But as actually the matter says, the rest is history. Technically, the Time Lord still came to power in the exact same way as they had done. We've just got a little bit more before that. The only the only thing that actually really annoys me is Tecton, and not because of the character. I just hate the name.
Tecton.
I really don't like that name. It's like you have Rassilon, Omega, Tecton. In terms of the actual episode, I love the visuals of Gallifrey, just both destroyed and how Gallifrey built up. And of course, we get any excuse to see Time Lords in city colours. I always love seeing Time Lords in city colours, and especially when confirmed that was also Omega and Rassilon. Oh, that's very nice. That's a very nice touch there. Now just get rid of Tecton and replace with the other, and we'll all be happy.
So from that front, you've been a fan for quite a while then. So was Full Circle 1980? 80 it was, wasn't it?
1980, yeah. So I'm 45, so 40 years, 4 decades.
And on my channel, I usually talk a lot about the 1980s. So don't worry, I'm not doing that today. But you've been through eras that have been criticised previously. So you've been through the John Nathan Turner run. You've been through probably the worst parts of Moffat run, as a lot of us have as well. And now we're in an era where that criticism has a massive platform, and that criticism has a place to sort of manifest itself. First and foremost, how do you feel about the current era of the show? So we're talking from Jodie's start, Chris Chibnall's start as showrunner.
As you suggested, each era is always going to have its proponents and its detractors. And that's and to a level that's fine. And almost sort of despite my age, you sort of got like the stereotype would be, oh hey, a 45-year-old male would not be expected necessarily to like the current era and that era, and I love the current era. I think it's great. I love it. I love its storytelling. I love the different style of storytelling that it's brought, and the show is a show that has to change. It's a 58-year-old show now. It's got to change, and it will always change. So as much as it's a show about time travel, it's a show of its time as well. That means it isn't going to be for everybody. And if people find themselves not relating to the show anymore, like, hey, that may be because the show isn't actually being made for me at the moment. It's being made for somebody else. So I personally like it. I think Jodie's brilliant. The accusation that she has no range which is very often leveled at me, doesn't exist. Yes, she does the sort of bouncy and enthusiastic side of the Doctor incredibly well, but she's also capable of being real sort of serious actors as well. You only have to look at when she opens the door in the TARDIS and steps out into Newt Gallifrey at the end of Skyfall, and you sort of look at, she doesn't even have a line there.
When Jodie was cast as the Doctor, I want to know how you felt, because I've been asking a lot of people this. What was that initial reaction like, and how has that changed over time, if it has at all?
So I recall very well where I was and what I was doing. I was at the British Grand Prix. So the race had just finished, and after the race, usually in the pre-COVID days, there's a after party, and you go and sit on a field of grass that they have, if you like, in the inner loop of the circuit.
Yeah.
Usually abandoned, whatever. And I knew that it was going to be sort of broadcast immediately after the men's Wimbledon final.
Yeah.
So pretty sure I was going to catch the announcement, and it was a case of, can I get a mobile phone signal in the midst of viral? And there was 140,000. Yeah, and I did, and I saw it, and my initial reaction was I was clearly surprised.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think that, and my initial reaction was, well, after all this speculation, thank God they've grasped the method.
Yeah.
Because that was I was like, and I actually posted, any friends who see this, you can look back, my initial post on Facebook was getting the BBC, because it was like, about time to do something different with it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, we've grasped the nettle, and it'll either work or it won't. And unfortunately, the people through it's worked have largely remained the same, and the people through it hasn't, and largely remained the same. That said, I do have a friend who is of a comparable age to me, a little bit older maybe, maybe 3 or 4 years older, who was dead set against it. Nobody in the cosplay community, just an old school Doctor Who fan who was dead set against it.
Yeah.
Posted on Facebook, in very vitriolic terms about it. And I saw him, literally bumped into him about 18 months ago, and he was like, I'm trying.
Yeah.
She's sold me, so yeah.
But then if you move back to this, I feel like even going to Capaldi, you get the too old complaints, and that was very prevalent on Twitter at the time. But the backlash against Jodie was immense. I can remember this very vividly, like the day it happened. And then it became a birth of the Not My Doctor Brigade. And it, I don't know if the fandom's ever truly stopped being split from that. And I'd love to know what you think about that.
I've got to be careful.
Yeah.
I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush.
Yeah.
It would be very unfair of me to do so. Like I said, there's people. There's a difference between the people who say, well, she's not really my doctor, and the not my doctor.
Absolutely.
People. So, if you don't get her and you don't connect with her, there's nothing wrong with that. And I've said, I didn't really connect with any of the new Who doctors properly until there was Jodie. So, and I think a lot of there was definitely the division has become almost a little more stark. It was so at the first, at the start, everyone was like, "You haven't seen it. You don't know what she's going to be like. She might be excellent. Then you're just clearly being sexist."
There's a very big difference. Yeah,
and almost, that division sort of, like I say, become more stark in the sense of, I think there is some people out there who are out and out. The only reason that we don't like her in the role is because she's a woman. Whether that's sexism in some cases it borders on the misogynistic. That is there. There's definitely a coterie of people alive, but it would be unfair to tarnish everybody with that brush. Absolutely would be. For some people, it's not their era. And that's fine. Whether it's Jodie or whether it's the writing, you've got the whole, it's too political. I've got news for you. That too was always political.
Agreed.
And actually, they're sort of, and not just that. So people saying it's too political and it's too overly preachy and it's too inverted colours woke. In one of the Pelham stories, Sarah Jane gives Queen Clara an out and out feminist lecture.
Absolutely.
It's up front, it's
right there.
There it is. There's nothing only about being a girl. And and you're just like, well, where's the difference between that and 13 telling the fan, hey, you're burning the planet, it's not my planet, it's your planet. Go do something. It's not my planet, it's your planet. Go and do something about it. So, So,
absolutely. And you could point to an awful lot of other examples there as well. So even the 70s, and specifically in the 70s, Doctor Who had a very eco-themed series, I seem to remember, especially during the John Pertwee years. You look at Ace, she's definitely meant to be a punk communist type companion. Maybe it's not as explicitly said as you'd like to think, but and
Ace really comes. Ace goes on a real journey as well. There's a huge sort of anti-racism story behind Ace as well. So it is there. I think it's Underworld, not the Sunmakers, one of the two, which is basically, with the teller, where he's, with the guy over it. The whole story is an anti-capitalist.
There you go. Yeah.
Basically, so the idea that it was always subtle, it was always no, it wasn't.
No, not in the slightest. Are we just going to forget Capaldi literally said the phrase history was whitewashed like a year before all of this?
Yeah.
That's the most out front. I'm not disagreeing with it, by the way. I think actually most sci-fi, you look at Star Trek, you look at Star Wars. If you want your politics out of your media, then don't watch sci-fi. That's my opinion.
It's what sci-fi is for.
Yeah.
Sci-fi isn't for, sci-fi is not for spaceships and space alien worlds. Yes, they are there, and yes, they're interesting, but it is there to hold a mirror up to
society, absolutely.
What is going on this planet in this time. That's what it's there to do. And if you don't like it, don't watch it.
There you go.
You know, go watch Line of Duty or something. You know, not to try Line of Duty. Sure, it's excellent. You know.
Hey everybody, and we are here.
Chibnall Who.
Oh, this is going to be juicy. We're here to talk about the Chibnall Who of Doctor Who. Now, I've just interviewed Josh Coy, who has a very positive outlook on that era, I think you'd agree.
And we're both great friends with him, actually, aren't we?
Yeah, very great friends.
Despite opinion differences. See, it is possible. You don't have to cancel people just because they don't have your opinion.
Listen.
I can see your glasses steaming up already.
No, why would you and Josh Coy disagree, Asa? Why would that be?
Because I've got standards. So do other fine gentlemen like Balstrack and Nerd Rossick.
No! We did not mention that name here.
Am I banned yet?
You've done enough to get banned within 2 seconds of being on camera, lad. You don't like Chibnall. Yeah. Chibnall bad, some might say.
I don't want people saying I'm not qualified to talk about it because I didn't sit through the whole thing. I didn't want to. I remember I gave up Series 11 after the Spider one.
Oh, with actors in the...
With Series 12, I gave up with the Orphan one.
Oh, I think a lot of people... Not even...
Orphan 55.
Not even Joshua Coy likes that. Benny! There's so many things you don't like
Which
about
one
it.
of you hurt my Benny, you bastard?
There's so many things that you don't like about it, but I think it's fair to say one of them is Chibnall and like his approach to the show and what he's decided to do with it. Is that right?
What, I remember everyone saying, give him a chance, give him a chance, give him a chance. And of course I was willing to because I wanted Moffat gone. He was getting very annoying for me. Okay.
Well, you didn't like the Terrible Hartnell trail, no?
Or Clara.
No.
Or how complicated he would have things. And
yeah.
I mean, Moffat's kind of, he did need a leash, didn't he? He was at his best when RTD was pegging him and making sure he couldn't be a dom. Or however you want to put it. Am I banned yet? All right, I'll stop pushing you, all right? But listen, every bit of news I heard about Series 11 before it came out just slowly decreased my hype one by one. I don't know what order I heard things in, but so Jodie was cast, first female Doctor. That's a risk. That is a big risk for the show, and I was worried about how they might handle it. Are they going to be really ham-fisted with feminist themes, or are they going to treat it as if it's just another Doctor who happens to be a woman? Or is there going to be good characterization from it? Or, you know, tons of questions, tons of worries. Some stuff might go wrong. Whatever happens, like half the fandom's gone already because they don't like the principle.
Yeah, how do I say? Like, I feel like some of those fans have come back. Now,
Then I would hear that there's going to be 3 companions. And it's like, oh shit, they're going to be competing for screen time. Then I heard no classic villains are going to be returning, which is a huge part in welcoming a new Doctor in the process of it. And then I heard he wanted to do more educational episodes. Just everything.
It's going like this for you.
Then I heard there'd be less episodes. You know? Everything I heard was just progressively worse and was killing my hype.
No, exactly. I mean, at the
and
time
then there was the costume reveal. Remember that?
Oh, with the CGI TARDIS.
Well, there was that as well because everybody thought it looked like Krypton. But the costume with the rainbow shirt and the dungarees and whatever the hell that coat is.
It is an anti-coat, isn't it?
That's what we thought the 6th Doctor's coat was. Now it looks even more gorgeous, that thing, compared to...
This man is a 6th Doctor simp. We're going to put this in the video.
I am a simp for the 6th Doctor. I like how much of a bitch he is. That's how you do it right, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I saw the first episode, and, well, you can't really judge it based on the first one. Well, I don't know. I thought back to, like, the 11th hour,
Yeah.
And how that perfectly introduced its Doctor. So there wasn't enough Doctor, and the Doctor was often explaining stuff. You could tell people were competing for time already. I thought the villain was stupid. Just a blue guy with teeth all over his head.
My man Tim Shaw.
And then we heard, oh, he's going to come back. And that took until like the last episode. It's not exactly a recurring villain or nemesis figure if it's just at the start and then at the end. Yeah. So the Doctor didn't win me over. There wasn't really a moment for it. I thought the acting was kind of just weird. You know.
Someone was interviewing very recently. We were talking about the creation of Cyberon and what have you. And we got onto the topic of how Jodie's Doctor is portrayed. And the amount of time she says she doesn't know what's going on. Or she's
about the amount of times she says, I like this or I love this.
Yeah.
She just says, I love this. That's not how you do character. It's like reading some kind of children's book, isn't it? Daddy likes his armchair. The vibes I get from her, it's hard to, like, overall, throughout Series 11, before I decided to just quit. She's kind of like a playgroup teacher with how soft and hyped up she is and childish. It's hard to see her as the Doctor. Gender already does that, because for me, he was always a male character. He was always a masculine character. He was boyish, or he was paternal, and that was his style. He looked it, he acted it, all that.
He is. Again, it's always been my view, and I've said this many a times. Like, until it happened, I was dead set against it. But once something just happens, you sort of just accept it and move on.
It's very hard to see it as the same character. The sex was the one of the consistencies. It'd be like if you made the Doctor American. It wouldn't be the same. That's just too big a change.
I always jokingly say I'd stop watching if the Doctor American.
And technically, that's just as unreasonable, because anyone can be the Doctor. How dare you be prejudiced? What's wrong?
Well,
there is actually a prejudice of American writers, isn't there?
Well, yeah, we were talking about this, weren't we? In one of the recent interviews, that they don't like taking on Americans.
Oh, that's another thing that I heard about before it aired. That who was going to write it? It was unexperienced people who wrote political plays, not sci-fi writers, not Doctor Who writers. That was another bit of bad news that crushed my hopes.
When I heard it, I was like, sick. New people are getting chances. That's wonderful, because a lot of the people who had come back during that era kind of got tired. Even Mark Gatiss did, in my opinion. I feel like it is good to get new people. It is really good to get new people, but Chibnall
they need experience in their own right. A lot of the times, the sci-fi element was like an afterthought.
Yeah.
It was like Chibnall just smacked them over the head and said, we need aliens, right? Man, the aliens really suck.
Pating.
God, the Pating. I can't remember the names. Like, some of them literally do nothing. Remember the aliens in the Demons of the Pudgy Budgy Budgy? They just watch people die and that's it.
Yeah. I didn't even remember if it was an alien Demons of Punjab. It's been a long time since I watched it.
The space racist as well.
Yeah, which...
Cracks. Butt crack or whatever he was called. Craxel.
With that story, like we've discussed before, some stories don't need a villain. Or they don't need an alien
element. It doesn't need a sci-fi element. Write it as an episode of something else, not Doctor Who. I don't like pure historicals. I can't pretend I do, okay?
No, you can present many things, but not that.
It's like watching Godzilla where there's no monster.
Me and another friend were talking about this. What if you did it where the Doctor's expecting a sci-fi element? You know, looking around, expecting...
Well, like Listen.
Yeah. So
Listen still had a sci-fi element where
it did in the
future, on that lone planet.
Yeah. I get you.
You can have subversion, but when it's literally just a story where you don't need anything except the Doctor showing up there at the beginning and leaving at the end, it's annoying. And wouldn't you know it, the companions, except Graham, we all like Graham, okay? Graham should have been the Doctor.
I'm gonna say this really quick. Graham kind of sucked in his second series. I don't know if that's a bad opinion at all, but like...
Just became a comic relief, but he was still the most charming person there.
Yeah. There was no character to him in the second series, other than the wonderful moment, on his end anyway, where he said he was afraid that the cancer will come back. From his
and
point
Jodie
of view...
was like, LOL! What did Coy say to defend Yaz and Ryan?
He didn't actually mention the companions at all.
Yeah. There really is no defending them after what we had before. Well, what we had before was Clara, never mind that.
They had something good with Graham, and I feel like the reaction was he wanted the other two companions to be the focus. So he deliberately made Graham more annoying.
He truly actually just seems like he's there as like an assurance that some people are going to watch.
Because he's the known name, etc.
Because it's obvious he wants to focus on Yaz and Ryan. That's why they have a few conversations. They're supposed to be deep, but they just don't have any character. Because then you lean back on Graham and stuff. And
it's the saddest thing to me because, as you know, and I'm going to mention the 80s again, kill me, but my favourite TARDIS team is the Fifth Doctors.
Speaking of the Fifth Doctor and the 13th Doctor, how about being morally fucked? The 13th Doctor's morals are all over the damn place, man. They're not balanced. They're not handled well.
The Kablan episode.
One example, as soon as I saw her like suffocating spiders in a safe room, instead of letting Mr. Unsubtle Trump, representative for the series, shoot one in the back of the head, which is nice and swift, and certainly the way I would rather go, and then calling him out on that and trying desperately to make him a villain. They fucked it up so bad that when they made him come back for the New Year's one or Christmas one, whatever, they just really tried to make him a villain because they
teamed up with
failed to do it the first.
Yeah,
it seems so much more opinionated as well. This series, maybe not political, but opinionated.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Yes. Is that the better way to say it?
Absolutely, because Doctor Who has always been political. Do I need to bring up the maggots again?
It's always the Green Death. And if
always
it's not the Green Death, it's the Candyman.
And if it's not the Candyman, it's the entire second and third Doctor's era. Don't forget, most of 2 was written by a communist. Just putting that out there for you.
And did he shove it in?
Not particularly. There were a few stories where he went like, "This is meant to be an attack on capitalism," but you have opinions. You can't. It's very hard to be subjective when you write something.
Like, he must have had an abusive dad because there's so many abusive dads. Graham's the only exception. He's barely a dad.
Yeah.
Ryan doesn't relate to him for some reason. There's fans watching like, oh, when are they going to high five? Bollocks. Except no, they don't actually because they're gone. Did they ever do it?
No. They have the whole build-up of him actually calling him dad. I don't know if they ever high-fived.
They've just blue-balled us there.
Yeah.
And the Grace ghost.
Can we discuss how interesting Grace was compared to the rest of them, by the way?
Got yeeted off a crane.
Yeah, that's exactly what
happened. She's a force ghost.
She got Legopolis.
Coy didn't allow me to take the piss out of that, really, because he thought it was too sweet.
Yeah.
So, ghost.
I think some of the themes they're going for in this series are fine.
If
none of them have been executed well.
And relying less on metaphors.
Like say, a lot of them
and
are
it's annoying and it's preachy. And the last straw is Orphan 55 with that awful speech at the end. Full compass unity right there. Everybody hated that.
Because I guess you'd be in the camp of saying they're trying to pander to certain people. I will counteract it with this and say they have no person they're catering to. Because the Kablam episode basically is against workers and socialism in general. Then you have the other messages that are saying, which like...
You are literally the kid in that, you are. Yeah. You're the kid in there that the doctor
Can't let the systems take control!
She blew up a teenager.
Who just wanted more workers' rights.
Morally fucked, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when she preaches so much more about morals, it's even more annoying. There was the Witch Trials one, which I wasn't looking forward to because I knew she'd rant about women. It just relied on the guy playing fucking King James.
Which no one liked, by the way. For whatever reason, people like, he shouldn't be camp, and it's like...
How did the Doctor win in that episode, by the way? How did she foil the villain?
I can't remember. I haven't seen it in a long time. So
I know the Doctor often foils the villain by pulling something right out of his hat.
Yeah.
Or somewhere further down.
Yeah.
But you got an even bigger sense of it throughout this run.
Yeah.
Dalek microwave.
I love microwaves. I think I've invented them.
Can you imagine if the War Doctor had said, I'm going to end it? Gets his fucking microwave, gets his beans in there, leaves the can on so it blows up.
Giant microwave on the horizon like that. And a kazoo version of this is to calibrate.
This is the level of HP. You don't like the writer. Oh god. With this, you don't like the writer. You don't like the cast. You don't like the composer either, do you? Because obviously now we've got.
I don't hate him. I don't hate him, but he's just bland.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very hard.
Compared to Murray Gold would have been blander. Like the Cyberman theme is just clang, 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 for 6 minutes.
Yeah,
it's not good enough.
I like a part of the Dalek theme. I like the opening. That's okay. That's okay.
Kind of beautiful in its own right.
Yeah.
Fitting of 13. No.
It's just very sad not to have Murray Gold there anymore, honestly.
He's got less character to work with.
I guess. Because I think even he'd struggle with that. Like, what are they briefing him with for Jodie? What do you think
give
on that piece of
Ryan?
paper? Something video gamey, I'd imagine.
Just because he plays FIFA.
Yeah.
In that one episode, he's not a true gamer if you play FIFA.
God damn it.
He's contributing to crunch culture, by the way, by playing FIFA, and the rotten company that is EA.
You know that I've got to talk about the Timeless Child.
The Doctor using the Master's race against him.
Yeah.
Morally fucked. Morally fucked.
That's worse than anything Six did, and he strangled a chick, you know?
Would you rather be strangled or thrown into the Nazis?
Doctor, what are you doing?
Your biggest weakness, your skin color.
But
reverse the polarity of the race flow. Imagine if Ryan was there. What would the Doctor have to make him white with the perception filter?
Is it possible?
Yes, it's canon.
God.
Race perception filters are canon now. Do you remember when 12 said that Time Lords are beyond petty obsession with gender?
Yeah.
Dear Lord, how'd you cope with all that ego?
But does that mean
And then you had Master
one?
in the original hating women.
Yeah.
And still hating women as Sim. So it was even in New Who. It's like, stop trying to make Time Lords woke. Time Lords are not woke. They are an authoritarian nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's what woke is. Am I banned yet?
You're pushing the limits of opinions, bro. But no, Timeless.
Well, it's a dumb twist.
Okay.
That makes the Doctor invincible. Unless it's something we don't know. I tell you what, female Doctor.
Okay.
It would have been better if we had an explanation as to how it's possible. Why have you been a man all this time and now you're a woman? How does it work? How does it work? Then it's easier to swallow. Black Doctor would be a bit easier to see as the same character. That's not too drastic a change. But you gotta explain it. Why is the Doctor black? Does he regenerate in a hotter climate so it compensates for it?
I just like
because there's the scientific reason why black people exist. So if he regenerates in Africa, it'll be black, and then you can have it. Except you'll be racist just for saying that, even though it's true.
No, I think it's completely random. But they've missed the boat on saying that.
Because it was 12. No, not even 12. How many times in a row?
13.
Where did he get? It was a white dude.
13.
Yeah. He used to be an old Queen's English man, and they'd slowly make changes, like make him younger, change the accent. So eventually you get Scottish person and someone as young as, Matt Smith. But I think they reached the limits, really. I think they hit the hard rules where he should be this, he should be this, he should be this, and all the other things can change.
I don't know.
Being a woman, deal breaker.
I don't think so.
People. Do you think it's sexist to have that opinion, though? Because all kinds of opinions, people have that opinion. Like my lesbian sister has that opinion.
Yeah. I don't think that in itself is inherently a sexist thing, but I think the connotations a lot of people have when they explain their reasons are sexist.
For me, it's basically just consistency.
Well,
like if the Doctor was a woman all this time, and became a man now, I'd feel the same way.
Yeah,
it'd be for the exact same reasons.
Again, I think Doctor Who is a very unique show where you can explain away anything, but you need to explain it.
There needs to be good reason. If you do it to play politics, which is what it kind of looked like.
Are you suggesting that's what they're doing?
There was the glass ceiling teaser.
Yeah,
which is cringe.
The Doctor originally had one heart. The Doctor originally had no sonic screwdriver. The TARDIS was an invention that he made originally. You can change anything about this show.
If that was done today, with the internet,
and
with all the other competition around, like Netflix and stuff, that'd be shat on to death.
Yeah, 100%.
So the Times they do play a part in it. We've seen it with Timeless Child.
Yeah. See, again,
it's still on, and I think that's mostly because the BBC just don't want to admit that it's embarrassing what they have right now, and they'll go back on it. I think they're going to go back on it. Nobody likes it.
Whoever gets cast next, I don't particularly care about gender. I don't care about race. Just who can do the best. I would love a Black Doctor.
In that case, you do care.
Yeah. No. I said I'd want it.
If you'd love it more.
Jesus.
So you do want it. So it is part. You do want race to play a part. You want a black man. You want a black man.
I want the best actor. The Timeless Child reveal doesn't actually change anything that we knew before.
There's all kinds of things I could say, but I'm letting you speak. Go on.
Okay, but the first Doctor's the first Doctor we ever saw.
Joe?
Unless Joe is the next Doctor, I'm not happy with it.
Isn't Joe a bit too human?
So was the 10th Doctor, but you all seem to love him.
Nah, he was very Time Lord. He was all over the place.
A lot of people I've spoken to, we're all in agreement. We don't want Ruth to be pre-first.
She's going to be pre-first.
If he can make it make sense.
He wants diversity, not just later in the Doctor's life, but before the Doctor's life. He wants that to be his legacy.
I've got to get going in a few minutes. So is there anything
I remember you
want
telling
to...
me how many. I remember you telling me what was broken by Timeless Child.
I got very angry when it first aired. Yes, came out of it saying, "This book I've never seen before is the only real canon."
Yeah. This virgin book.
Yes,
it's cancelled.
Me looking into the camera.
Sasha understands the Master so much more than Jodie understands the Doctor. And the contrast between their performances is unbearable to watch.
You're praising Sasha there.
Ainley is still my bae.
Oh, Ainley is my favourite. Ainley's my favourite.
The smug anime girl of Masters.
I've been anticipating this
Doctor. It just reminds me of the smug Wendy's account, you know.
So, what is your final thoughts on? Is it just Chibnall bad?
I've got my reasons. It's fine if you disagree. Just don't call me a racist and a sexist and a capitalist, even though I am all those things. It's not the reason why I hate this. Okay. If I was a true racist, Fleming wouldn't be friends with me.
That's very true. His only defense, that will be his defense in court one day. I couldn't kill anyone out of hate.
I have a black friend.
We'll see you all soon, then.
And get rid of me before I praise Trump some more.
Yeah, go, bye. So there we have it, guys. Some really interesting opinions on the show there from all kinds of people with all different beliefs and interpretations of Doctor Who and their characters. I feel like that's what we need. We need a big discussion about Doctor Who to really get an idea of who likes it and who doesn't. And the truth is, no one's ever going to fully like the show. No one's ever going to fully like every single episode. And I feel like I've learned an awful lot about this. I hope you have as well. But before we finish up, I would really like to give my view on the current era of Doctor Who. And I fall not exactly in the middle. I'd say I like it more than I don't. But you'll see that a lot of the issues people have with this series have been prevalent in the show for about 10 years. The overabundance of leaning on political themes, they've been in the show the entire time. You'll look at poorly written monsters as one-offs. They've been prevalent since the early Moffat era. 11th Hour, anybody? You look at things like Companions not getting enough development, Companions being pretty bad, again, can be traced back to the Moffat era. I think the only real criticism I can agree with is that Jodie's Doctor seems very unsure of herself, and thus that's very hard to invest in as a character. I say wearing the Fifth Doctor's outfit, there was a different way to do it, and it worked to the Fifth Doctor's detriment, whereas I don't think it works to Jodie's detriment in a narrative sense. I don't think we really see enough of it. If you're going to do it, show us it some more. I think that having 3 companions was a massive mistake, not because of diversity casting, as some people, even in this video, have said. I think it's because you don't have enough time to flesh out 3 characters at once. I don't think you can do it anytime. You couldn't do it in the 80s, you can't do it now. It's a ridiculous thing to even try, in my opinion. So hopefully going forward, we have the 1 to 2 companion format. We have a set of stories where the Doctor can really be challenged and taken to the limit. They're always the best. Look at Human Nature, look at Journey to the TARDIS, I guess, look at Name of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, and all kind, and Hellbent, Heaven Sent. You know, look at the episodes where the Doctor is truly challenged. And we got a bit of that in The Timeless Children, so let's hope we go a bit further with that. All in all, there were many, many missteps in this era. I do feel like the Timeless Child reveal was mishandled, and I feel like we could have seen more of what they were trying to show us. I know it was in a very short episode format, but you did almost have 3 episodes to build it up. I think we could have had much better villains, honestly. I know that Chibnall wanted to test himself and create a whole set of new villains, but I don't think any of them really stuck, to be honest with you. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe in the comments you can tell me some Chibnall creations that you've enjoyed. But when he has had villains that are recurring to deal with, he's done brilliantly with them. Even with the Jadoon, I think he did well with. So the Jadoon, the Daleks, Cybermen, he's done really well with those. And I'd love to see him use some more. I don't know who else I would have in this series. We're having, spoiler alert, skip a couple of seconds, we're having the Sontarans coming up in this series, so hopefully he can write them as a serious threat, as they should be. Let's hope, let's see. That's it, really my opinion, that Doctor Who is no worse now than it was 5 years ago. And in some ways it's better, it's improved. I think we can be glad that we've got such an aesthetically pleasing show these days. We've got something that clearly has more budget in it than it did even 3 years ago, you know? I think that's all wonderful. And in terms of being a fan of modern and classic, there's never been a better time to be a fan, because the merch lines we're getting at the minute are incredible for the classic series. And maybe you can say that's because not a lot of people care about the modern series. That's fair enough. But we're getting it, and that's really, really important to me. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Has this video been helpful in forming an opinion on the current era of Doctor Who? What is your opinion on the current era of Doctor Who? I want to hear it in the comments below. Get the debate going. Be respectful, guys. There's no need to start wars over this. And I'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.